Hello friends of the homestead, welcome back to my pocket homestead. Today from the garden. It is mid-September and I have so much work to do outside. I will take you along a little bit just to tell you what are the usual jobs in September. So I think the first thing I'm going to start with for today is harvesting. There's a few things that I've abandoned over the last few weeks. To be honest, we had two deaths in the family, and I've been really slow in the garden, and sometimes you just kind of have to give yourself the time to grieve and just be nature, let nature be nature. But yeah, I have lots of tomatoes that I can pick. um, some of them are already a bit burst, but that's okay, they're still edible. I've lots of cucumbers. I don't even know what to do with all those cucumbers. And I'm going to check outside in the vegetable patch what's left there. And then I have a lot of cleanup to do. I just want to basically make space for things that I can grow over winter. Otherwise, I usually leave the beds be over winter, unless you want to put down like a cover crop. I have, what do I have? I have crimson clover this year, and I've bought something else, and I forgot what it is, but I have it in my little box of seeds. Just to kind of give you an idea. This is everything I was planning to sow in September, but I think I'm going to reduce that a little bit. So there's a few vegetables in there that I'm just learning on growing over winter, or at least like over the colder months. There's things like a few lettuces, spinach can be sown out, winter peas, and other things. Anyway, I'll go through that in detail in a few minutes. But yeah, so I have to clean up a few beds to make room for those. And then, you know how I do have my little flower business to make a little bit of money on the side. And what you usually do is you do autumn sowing with hardy annuals, and there's a good few in there that I really want to get sown now, rather sooner than later. So because they're going to give me an earlier harvest in the next year. You can feel already autumn is coming, the colder time is coming. I'm pretty sure my flowers are going to slow down now. And yeah, the end of the season is in sight. Yeah, September and in general autumn is still a time in the garden where there's so many jobs to do. I definitely won't be able to cover everything today, but I thought we can go through the seeds. I show you what I harvest today, and then what I also have to do is I have to turn the compost. That's something really important. I started my compost in March. I've done composting the last 3 years. However, I didn't really pay attention to it, and I didn't do it properly, I'd say. But this year I was really making an effort to, sounds really bright, sorry. I was really making an effort to get it right, and I started this in March, so after 6 months it's time to turn it, and that's going to be a big job. I don't know, I hope I can do it today, as long as the weather holds up. It has been very, very changing the last week, or the last 2 weeks even. We had a lot of rain, which destroyed a lot of my flowers, which is a bit of a pity. But yeah, let's get harvesting, I'd say. So I'm going to start with the tomatoes. I had plenty of tomatoes in here this year. I think I had about 40 plants that I sowed. Gosh, the sun. I had about 40 plants in the spring that I sowed, or like my seeds were old, so I sowed more than I needed just to make sure that I get enough out, because I didn't think they would all germinate. But I had a good germination rate anyway. I did plant a few outside because I wanted to know how well they would do in the Irish climate outside, but they did not do well at all. I have two plants over there in front of my kitchen, and they have a good few tomatoes on it, but they're obviously very slow in ripening because they're missing the heat. And they also got like lots of foulness on the fruit. So I won't be doing that again. There's no point. I will be concentrating on growing my tomatoes inside the tunnel, and that's fine. Like, I mean, that's what the tunnel is for after all. And for the family that we are, and on how many tomatoes we eat, I think 40 plants would have definitely been way too much. I think for next year I'll be aiming at maximum 20 plants. Some of the ones that I have grown inside, they didn't make it. I don't know why. Maybe the soil wasn't prepared enough. I didn't really do a lot of soil amendment this year, so the soils were quite poor, I must admit. So that's definitely a big learning for me for next year, to make sure my soil is healthy and there's enough nutrients in there for the plants to thrive in it. This is what you call them in English? A beef tomato, right? So they're massive. Look how huge they are. This one is nice and soft, so I'm gonna pick it. Look at that. So yeah, you can see it's a bit of a mess here with the tomatoes. They're grown, fallen into my zinnias, which is a shame because I can't quite reach the zinnias now. Lots of green tomatoes still on here, but we're only mid-September, so I'm sure I'll get a lot of them still ripening. And if they don't ripen, you can actually make like a green tomato chutney out of it, which I did a few years ago, and that's very, very lovely. So if you're wondering what happens here on the ground, I have alpaca wool down. I've seen this plenty on social media, and the wool has basically the benefit, it keeps the soil moist so it doesn't dry out too quickly. And the wool also can be put back into the soil, so it puts back nutrients into the soil, and it obviously keeps the weeds down as well. So win-win. Usually people do that with sheep wool, but I had no luck finding sheep wool. We are here in a cow country, so most farmers have cows. I had to be happy with the alpaca wool that I found. Now that's a good big bucket full of tomatoes. Will be nice for another big pot of tomato soup, and I'm probably gonna, not tomato soup, tomato sauce, and I'd be freezing some of them as well. What you want to do at this time of year with your tomatoes, you want to chop the top off so that they stop growing up high and that they put all their energy into ripening the last few tomatoes that are on the plant. I've done that with most of them already, like a week or two ago. So we just chop them off, and then obviously keep an eye on the suckers still. Cut all the suckers off. We have one here, a little sucker. So I'll be taking some time and cutting them off now, removing some of the leaves to let in more air and more airflow, and to just, get the plant to put all the energy into the fruit. Now I'm happy with the tomatoes, and I'm going to move on to my cucumbers. I wanted to say carrots. No, not carrots, cucumbers. I have, how many plants did I have this year? I think I have 4 of they're called Marketmore. They're lovely. I really like them. And then I have this sort of honey yellow-ish, I don't know the exact name of it. This one. It was gorgeous too. Very productive. So we have a couple of them. I don't have jars to do anything with them, so I really don't know what to do with the cucumbers. I don't know if you can, if you can freeze cucumbers, but I don't think so. Ideally I would can them. So far I did only fridge pickles, so I would have wanted to do some, like the where you cook them and where you boil them. I've never done that before, so I don't know how to do it, first of all. And second of all, again, I don't have the jars, so I might as well just kind of give them away, give them to friends and neighbours, and see who likes a few cucumbers. And while we're talking about cucumbers, I'm actually also growing melons. That's the 3rd year I'm growing those. I think they're Guanteloupe or something like that. And they're doing well. They always grow for me. Wait, turn you around. So look at these. And they're so sweet. Now, I planted them a little late, so I'd say they're a bit behind. But I leave them on because obviously we're in the polytunnel still gets warm, and there's still a chance for them to ripen. And they're lovely. Look at them. They're so nice. Now back to the cucumbers. Here we have think I planted 4 plants. That was not necessary. Probably could do with 2 or 3. That would be still enough. And there's plenty on them there now. I have to see if I can find them all. There you go. How many do we have? 5, 6, about 12 cucumbers, and they have a good size. Like, I have a few chilies in here that I can harvest. And then I have those beautiful purple ones, the buena bulatas. They are super productive. Can only recommend them. They are one of the milder chilies, but we find them to be quite spicy. And they're lovely for like making sauces and jams, and they have this lovely purple colour. They obviously turn red once they're proper ripe, but you can eat them while they're still purple. Yeah, and now I would say let's have a look outside to see if there's anything in the vegetable patch for me to harvest today. So something I need to harvest are these potatoes. They're totally done. I have no idea what it looks like inside. Here we have tomatoes growing. There's not much on them, and what's on them is either kind of foul. You can see it in here. I mean, look at that. What's it even that? Looks awful. And they really don't look good. So yeah, that was a failed experiment. And then the peas and the beans are coming to an end. Here we had, gosh, what was that? Broccoli maybe? And you see all the cabbage fly, the worms of it, eating it all up. Anyway, look at this guy. That one is beautiful. The red cabbage. I've been growing them the last 2 years, and they are just lovely. They taste lovely. I like to cook them, but this year I want to try and make sauerkraut from it. Look at this massive guy. Gorgeous. So we can probably harvest them as well. Oh, look at my chard. That looks very sad. I wonder what happened to it. Maybe too much rain. But chard is one of the things we can sow in September. So I'll be sowing a fresh one today. And then maybe in a few weeks' time we can harvest a little bit more. But oh my god, look at this mess. So I'm planning on tidying up this bed and this bed, and use that for my sowings. We have those little pumpkins that I discovered in my garden tour. They're looking great. I leave them on and let them grow for another bit. I don't know how big they're gonna get. And then we have our corn here. This is popcorn. You see by this, the little tassels or whatever they're called, when they're dry and brown, they're ready to be harvested. What I've learned now, and I learned that from Hugh Richards. He has a great YouTube channel. I love his content. He's located in Wales, so it's very similar to Ireland. And he said to, when you plant corn, to at least plant 16 plants to make sure that the pollination takes place. Because what I've noticed with my corn, when I opened up one last time, there wasn't a lot of corn in it, so it was not pollinated properly. And it seems like that the reason for that is that I didn't have enough plants. So for next year, I'll be planting more, and I'll be making sure to plant them all together, because I have a few over here, then I have a few over there, and I have a few on the other end. So we'll try that. Oh my god, look at that broccoli. Did you see that? That's all broccoli. Now, if I leave that, I'm not going to take that out today anyway. I could probably try out and save some seeds. One sad little onion that I can harvest. Oh no, there's actually a second one. So 2 onions. I didn't bother about onions this year. I was just, there was so much to do with sowing flowers that I really neglected the vegetables. And here my raspberries are coming to an end as well. All the rain from the last few weeks kind of making them foul and moldy. Yeah, there's not much left on it. I might just leave it for the birds and yeah, I'll be harvesting the corn and see what I get from it. I think my beans are done. There's not much left on it. No, there's nothing on it. That pumpkin, I think, might be the only thing left. And obviously the cabbages, I'm not going to harvest all of the cabbages. I might harvest the biggest one today and leave the others for another little bit until I have time. Now let's walk around and have a look. Here's more corn, you see. It's fallen over. Oh, it feels like there's like literally nothing in it. We have some kohlrabi here. I don't know what was going on with it this year. But look, it stayed like this. It's been in the ground forever. And this one. So that was a bit of a fail this year. We have some Brussels sprouts, but obviously they're far from being done. And here are all the weeds that are growing in. One of the reasons why I want to move the vegetable garden over to the other side. And we actually have some courgettes. Oh wow, I didn't think we would. And that's actually a nice size. Usually mine, they grow so big because I never harvest them on time. That's a lovely sized courgette. Fantastic. Can add that to the pile of harvests. So I've got lots of corn cobs here. It looks nice, but I'm sure, because I can feel it grabbing them, that there's not a lot in it. Oh, any Eric? So, I'm gonna have a look into one of them. But I do consider the corners a bit of a failure this year. Now, I said this earlier, I didn't pay attention to my soil this year when I prepared the beds. I had no money to buy a lot of new compost. I used whatever I had, homemade compost, but it wasn't enough for all the beds. So, something I'll be definitely looking out for next year. If it's not fresh soil, then buy some soil amendments. And cover crops are important, so that's definitely something I'll be doing in my flower patch, you know, for the annual flowers, that I'll be sowing out the cover crops. And that actually doesn't look too bad. Sharing is caring, as they say. I want to see if my dog likes it. He loves picking the peas in the garden and the beans, the raspberries, and he loves eating apples. He's just a weird dog. He just loves all the harvest in the garden. So I brought over one of the bags for potatoes to the compost and I'm gonna have a look. I am not disappointed, but I'm also not very happy. So I planted 6 potatoes in this grow bag, and this is where I got out from it. So not too bad. It'll be like 2 dinners, considering, like, depending on how much the kids are eating. Like, again, they have a good size though. But yeah, I find growing them in the grow bags isn't, I don't know, I don't like it. So I might be using the grow bags for something else next year. And I'm hoping to have space out in the new vegetable garden, in the front garden, to actually grow the potatoes in the ground. Okay, so I've dug out all the potatoes. I had 3 of those grow bags. I also tried a potato tower this year. I planted about 30 potatoes in that tower, and I think that was a huge mistake. I did get a good bit out now. So I think altogether I might have had 40 to 45 potatoes that I put in the ground. I think I had about 2 to 3 kilos ordered. I am okay with the harvest. It's obviously not going to get us through the winter, but it's a nice little harvest that yeah, I can store in the garage now, and we can eat away on that, and sure, when it's gone, it's gone. Eventually I want to learn how to keep the potatoes until the next season so that we can grow them again instead of buying new seed potatoes every year. but obviously the harvest is too small for that to do that now. So might be something we can look at together next year. But yeah, no, I'm okay. I'm okay with the harvest. It's something. It's better than nothing. So I'm back out after a little break and after a little charge. It's gotten quite unpleasant outside. It's getting colder. The sun is gone. And it's just, yeah, I think we're expecting rain for the rest of the day. So, but that's what we have the tunnel for. That's great. I can sit in here and do a bit of seeds. I'm going to tell you a bit about the seeds that I'm sowing. But just thought I'd show my little harvest here. That's not bad for September harvest. So I'll be busy this weekend with preparing everything, getting things into the freezer, cooking some stuff up, etc. But yeah, now let me set up and let's talk September sowing. So despite what many might think, September is still a good month for sowing seeds. You can sow plenty of flowers. As I said earlier, autumn sowing is something very important for flower farmers because you can start off your hardy annuals in September, in autumn, and have them ready much earlier in the next season rather than starting to sow, let's say, in March or April, and then the flowers are obviously starting to flower much later. But besides those hardy annual flowers, you can also sow vegetables. Sowing vegetables so late in the season is something I haven't done before. But as a homesteader, if you want to supply food for your family, even sowing things that late, growing things in winter is just very important. So I have a list of things that we can sow, and I'm in the lucky position to have this polytunnel. So I'll be clearing out one or two of those beds, and I will be growing some leafy greens in here as well. Now let's have a look at what I will be growing. So first of all, what I'm really excited about is, now that's not a vegetable, but it is a hardy lemon. I came across it on Chiltern Seeds. It is a hardy lemon, a Japanese bitter orange as it's called as well, Ponceros trifoliata, and it actually grows well in Ireland and the UK. And it gives lemon-like fruit. They're obviously a bit different to the lemons we know from the shop, but it would be great to have something like that in the garden. Imagine one day we don't get lemons here in Ireland anymore because of trade wars or whatever. Then it'll be great to have your own lemons in the garden. So I'll be excited to try them out. I think I have 5 seeds in this little pack. I only got them this week, so I have to get them in the ground today. It says sow immediately indoors. So what I'm actually going to do is, I'm not going to put them in the ground. What I do is I'm going to put them into tissue paper and Ziploc back into the press, and I'm going to put them into the hot press. So what I'll be growing in the tunnel is spring onions. If you're in Ireland, there's this beautiful company, Seeds Ireland. I really like their seeds. Most of them are organic. I'll be also growing kohlrabi in the polytunnel, giving it a go. Onions and carrots. This is so funny. I actually was looking forward to sowing carrots, and it turns out I don't even have carrot seeds. That's so typical. I will also be growing a few things outside. I'll be clearing those 2 beds that I pointed out earlier, and I will be growing things like spinach, some lettuce. I'll also grow some lettuce in here, and some rocket. I also read you can grow brassicas. When I sow them in the spring and then they grow during the summer, they bolt very quickly, so they shoot into flower. Basically, you get the beautiful cauliflower head and the beautiful broccoli head, and just if you don't harvest them straight away when you see they're ready, they shoot into flower so quickly. I find that quite frustrating. I have not been able to catch the broccoli at the right time. I've shown the broccoli earlier, it's all gone into seed now, so it's a bit frustrating. So what I'm trying now, I'm going to try and sow a bit of cauliflower and a bit of broccoli. In Ireland we have some milder climate during the winter now, We could get some early frost as well, and sometimes we can get some really strong frosts, but it is never really too bad. We give it a go this year. Okay, so we have some spinach, winter giant. Definitely will be growing that outside. The problem I had with spinach so far, I always grow it at the wrong time and then it goes into flower way too soon. I have some iceberg lettuce that I will be growing in the tunnel. I don't know what the variety is. I ripped it off, but it's nice little picking lettuce. We have lamb's lettuce. Lamb's lettuce. I have a few seeds left of it. That's a good variety to sow now in September, and you can pick away on it. And then the spring onions, obviously, I mentioned them. And I'll try some kohlrabi inside the polytunnel. And chard is something you can grow now as well. So that's basically about the vegetables. So it's not an awful lot, but it still is better than nothing. And as long as you can cover your empty beds during the winter, I mean, that's great. We don't want to leave any soil bare during the winter because that just washes out the nutrients. So whatever you can grow now, just do it. Just try it out. So now let's have a quick look at the flowers. This is my, these are all the flowers. I am not going to sow them all, especially not today. Maybe over the course of the next couple of days or weeks. I have them separated into annuals and perennials. Not all of these are perennials. I have no rush in sowing these. It's more kind of the annuals that I'll be concentrating on, especially today. Things like snapdragon. We're now in the middle of September, so I hope I'm not too late with the snapdragon, because snapdragon needs light to germinate and it needs a certain amount of light during the day. So when the days get shorter, they don't get enough light to actually germinate. So that's why they should be sowed in September. And things like larkspur, they grow nice and big and they're gonna be so much stronger for the next year if you sow them now. You can also start your stock. I love stock. I have been very unsuccessful with stock this year. So I'll be sowing some of them now in autumn, but I will be doing another sowing of them then, I don't know, maybe sometimes February, March. I have here my cover crop. I have crimson clover, I said that already, and the other one is white mustard. So these are great cover crops. When you tidy up your bed, you can throw out the seeds. Now is a good time to sow them. So outdoors March till September. So yeah, as I said, September is a good time to sow them out. The cover crop will protect the soil and will also put nutrients back into it. So what you can basically do with it, you chop it once it's at a good height and you leave what's chopped on the bed. You can cover it with cardboard so that it doesn't grow back like weeds, especially with clover. You know, you don't want to have the issue of it coming back. So you put on the cardboard and then just let it rot, and you have some more nutrients in the ground for the next season. You have plenty of different stalks. There is a few grasses you can sow now. Then I have here all my snapdragons, many different varieties. I have achilles. I don't know why I have been very unsuccessful with growing achilles ever since I started with the flowers. But I'll keep at it because I want them in my garden. They're great for pollinators. They're pollinator-friendly plants. Yeah, so we'll try again. Rudbeckias are great to sow now. They are actually considered perennials, but they're short-lived. So I don't know how many seasons you would get out of them. I've had a few times now where I got 2 seasons out of a Rudbeckia, and then the 3rd season they just weren't coming back. And scabious, the annual varieties. So I have three different varieties of scabiosa. So basically, my main goal for today, I guess, is getting those vegetables in the ground. I will be direct sowing them into the beds. So I will not start with seed trays or anything. They just go straight into the ground. And the flowers, they will be going into the seed trays, and they will stay here in the polytunnel. I have like a little kind of shelving back there. And basically my goal is to sow the larkspur, the snapdragons, the scabious, the stock, the rudbeckias, and the achilles. Did I forget something? I think these are really my most important ones that I want to get sown now. And anything that I'm able to sow on top of it. Oh yeah, the nigellas. I have a few nigellas that I'll get in the ground as well, or into the compost. Everything that I'll be able to sow on top of that is obviously a plus. But these are musts. The sooner I get them sown, the better. And then I have stronger plans for the next season. I'm getting a hug from my doggy. Yeah. He wants attention, I think. Ooh, there's a butterfly up there. Now I know what's going on with you. He wants the butterfly. You're not going to get the butterfly. It's not like it's anything tasty anyway. Oh, he's looking at the tomatoes. Don't pick the tomatoes. What you doing? And off he goes. Some heavy downforce there now.